This is the Astrology Show podcast with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. This is your astrology and tarot for the week starting September 2. Let's have a look first at your birthday. If it is your birthday, then happy birthday. The radical experiment with foreign people and places or other cultures ends next year. Famous birthdays include Steve Jones on September 3, who is 69, Rob Hurst, who is 69, also on September 3, Martin Chambers, who is 73 on September 4, Freddie Mercury would have been 78 on September 5, Al Stewart is 79 on September 5, and Chrissy Hind is 73 on September 7. Babies born this week have Cupido, Jupiter, Mars, and Proserpina in Gemini. They could easily speak 2 languages, even 3. Your tarot this week is Aries, the 2 of Cups, Taurus, the Ace of Wands, Gemini, the 3 of Cups, Cancer, the Ace of Cups, Leo, the Magician, Virgo, Temperance, Libra, the 7 of Wands, Scorpio, the 2 of Pentacles, Sagittarius, the 9 of Pentacles, Capricorn, the King of Cups, Aquarius, the Queen of Staves, and Pisces, the 3 of Pentacles. All of these cards can be decoded at my website. Fated connections this week are Aquarius and Sagittarius with romance or parenthood, and a big solution is there. Let's have a quick look at your birth chart. If you have Capricorn factors, Pluto retrograde in Capricorn is here. This is the beginning of the end of people politics in your profession. If you have Cancer factors, Mars goes into Cancer on September 4, so this speeds up all property auctions, house sales, apartment negotiations, real estate renovations, and home repairs. Aries. Mercury has you rethinking a relationship at this time, or a new phase of your old relationship, which finds you learning more about your needs, single or with a partner. It's the Leo Mercury retrograde weather, ending in your house of courtship. It tallies with the South Node in Libra in your house of partnership. It's about your son and the mother of your son, for example. With Mercury and the Moon both in Leo, and Venus, the South Node, Juno and Diana in Libra this week, your relationship is complicated. With these transits, you take the cycle that's most rare, most infrequent. So that's the South Node in Libra in your 7th house of partners. These partners are romantic, professional, or platonic, but it's just the 2 of you. And what you're being shown, Aries, is a loop or a circuit, a bit like Groundhog Day. No matter what you say and do to try and do things differently and break the circuit or the repetition, the other person keeps on saying and doing the same things. This does stop in January. That's when, at last, the South Node is out of Libra for another 18 or 19 years. Until then, you do spin your wheels. Yet this enables you to change on the inside because you have no alternative. You have to become more philosophical, more tolerant perhaps, because the alternative is just to see the repetition. If this is a recent partnership in your life, it could end in January because you walk away or she or he does. That's pretty common with the South Node in Libra. If this is a long-term de facto relationship, marriage or work partnership, it may be that a phase ends in January or there is the end of an era. This may be your daughter leaving home, for example, or perhaps it's time for the pair of you to sell your home. In any case, it's all karmic, according to your astrology. Around 18 or 19 years ago, you were left owed spiritually, or you were left owing also spiritually. Now, this may be with the same person, and maybe a completely different person now, but the issue will be very similar. For example, if you were unfaithful then, you might be with a person who is unfaithful by nature now. If you are gay and married your husband in the same year that Aries Elton John did, then that story comes around again now. Maybe you are owed from that time. Whatever your personal situation, this all ends, as I've said, on January 11, 2025. So remember back to December 27, 2004 through June 22, 2006, and you're there. The theme will be obvious to you. Taurus, what was supposed to be in the bag or a done deal with your family, house, apartment, town, country, household was actually on a long rewind, even as you were seeing things go in writing or others were apparently settling something. Not so. Mercury retrograde can do that. This is such an odd transit with Mercury retracing his steps in Leo, where you have been affected by fluctuating situations, but it all gives you time to plot and plan about property, for example, or a relative. The moon starts the week in Leo, same chart zone. This is not a life-changing experience for you, Taurus. It's none of that. But this transit does matter because it's also where courtship, the bedroom, babies, infants, school children, teenagers, and a younger generation is. Mercury retrograde is backtracking in this zone of your chart until September 11. Once you have finished spinning your wheels with all the misfired communication, the absent people who are offline, the false starts and the first attempts, and the rest, you will be on your way. So near September 11, it will feel as if this is finally in hand for you. This week, you also have a whopping lineup in Gemini in your second house of money saved or money made. Cupido, Jupiter, Mars, and Proserpina are all in Gemini. And when we go to your natal chart, where you have your Sun in Taurus also in the second house, we find Uranus in Taurus with 3 key asteroids. So in both of your charts, public and private, it's all about the second house, and that's about the price tags that you hang on what cannot be bought or sold. Who is so precious that he or she is priceless? This is really interesting because of the abundance of this cycle. By June 2025, you will have saved or made rather a lot, but on your own terms, because sometimes you count the benefits in terms of your values. You've lived your values, perhaps, as a philanthropist or a charity fundraiser. Of course, there is also the classic Taurus who is in it for the money. You know how to make it, how to spend it, and how to save it. For you this week, in both cases, in both charts that we use for you, there's a big reckoning up about your personal life budget. Gemini, you are likely to be tempted by goals and roles which allow you to escape reality this week. Saturn joins Neptune in your success zone, so reality checks do have to come with the alternative realities too. This 10th house of yours is loaded until 2025. Yet it requires some preparation this week. This is an odd state of affairs because the 10th house is about your career, your unpaid role, or your academic career, and we can see the restrictions. It's barring you and blocking you. It feels heavy and non-negotiable. Because of this, you cleave towards aspects of this role or position which allow you to escape from reality. Or you sit with the limitations of that lead weight, but find your outlet through a totally different idea about success, something that is a vacation for your spirit or soul. This duality of accepting the walls and barriers and gates, but also losing yourself in the currents and tides, is part of this highly unusual cycle affecting your career, your unpaid work, or your academic career. It is over next year, so not long to go, which brings me to the group, which is the next key cycle. This is rolling Aries weather, and right now it's evident with Chiron, the North Node, and Salacia all in this part of your chart, all in your 11th house of communities, circles, clubs and teams, bands, political parties, and all sorts of associations with others. So it could be Arsenal, or it could be Oasis, the Groucho Club, or Mumsnet. However this group is showing up for you, you are heading towards years of escaping with these people, or this is the first experiment with the same idea, but next year in 2025, you will replace this group with another by 2026. Same principle though, you're looking for an escape from the real world. What we have at the moment in 2024 is an experiment with your group to see what you can get away with. That's Chiron. It also owes a fair amount to the karma that you accrued 18 or 19 years ago. That's the North Node. This group is also an alternative reality. It's very far removed from planet Earth or terra firma. This does rather suggest 2025 and the years following, because floating far, far away from the mundane, the normal, and the everyday will in fact become a way of life with this collection of people from next year, or with a substitute for them from next year, as the first group may be replaced by a second group. Cancer. Let's talk about foreigners and foreign countries with Neptune in Pisces along with Saturn in your solar ninth house. Nobody is going to want ordinary, normal life now. Whether you are here, traveling, emigrating, or have relocated, whether you are living on the web or you are living overseas, this cycle can be quite confusing and confused. With Saturn here, boundaries are required. The ninth house covers experiences, places, and people which expand your cultural, academic, or geographical horizons. What many people do is split their foreign involvement in two. So one is very heavy, it requires patience, it's restricted, it's limited, and the rest. And the other is a total escape from the real world, which involves alternatives to reality, a holiday from the everyday. Splitting your foreign commitments and involvements or your multicultural commitments is not a bad idea, as it can make life more simple. So, for example, you might be waiting on approval to emigrate to America, which is the bars and the walls of Saturn, but you still want the escapism of watching YouTube videos about New York. This cycle ends next year, however you play it. In goes the North Node, also into the ninth house, in Pisces, and in January 2025, you seem likely to realise that one foreign country and its culture or religion is an ongoing story for you. The soundtrack changes, but the basic film is the same, and the ninth house is also about the expansion of your global horizons. This sequence of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces and then the North Node next year suggests that whatever happens now is enshrined for all time with this country or with this culture. These slow-moving transits create permanent change in your life. If you are Cancerian Elon Musk, then it's Starlink. The whole world hooked up to you. It's NASA, for example. The biggest horizon of all may in fact be outer space, but closer to home, it may be Paris to your London. If you are about being British but immersed in another culture and belief system, there is every indication here that this is going to be a way of life from next year. It's not just a 2024 idea. The ninth house is about the World Wide Web and the world part of that. It's also very much about understanding that you are here with a very, very long-running transit in order to move, to emigrate, or simply to work or live part of your life with another culture or country. Leo. Independence Day is close professionally, academically, or in your world of volunteering or unpaid effort. With enough commitment to freedom by 2025, you can liberate yourself. When it comes to your achievements in this cycle, the potential for something exhilarating, if wildly unpredictable, is there. This week, Fortuna, Aesculapia, and Hygeia are also in Taurus in your success zone, along with Uranus. So this is about your ambition, mission, and position, the highest point of your peak achievement in terms of status and success. It's also about how unpredictable and random life can be. Fortuna can be like that. She is the wheel of fortune that spins everything high and low. And Uranus can definitely be like that. This is a symbol of the unpredictable with a capital U. And you have lived with this in your career zone since 2018, also picking up unpaid work or academia. When we go back to your birth chart or natal chart, Leo, we find that you have also been living with Pluto in Capricorn in the same zone since 2008. And you are now at the end. This is an end game professionally, academically, or with your unpaid work. The first phase is November 2024. The second one is July 2025. This two-bump process suggests that you will change careers, retire, pick a new career, or redefine your ideas about success in other ways, perhaps more radical ways. Surprising others, even shocking them, is part of this cycle. So is surprising or shocking yourself. Leo, anyone who pigeonholed you has not reckoned on 2025, as you are very likely to break out of your box, and all the signs are there this week. Virgo. Neptune in your 7th house is showing up this week, and you're quite used to this cycle, but not quite. It's about your duet or your duel, and you can also lose yourself in the ghost of a haunting lost love. The person who is on the other side of the scales may not even be here anymore. The duet is obvious. It's a partnership, be it romantic, professional, or platonic, just the two of you. The duel is also obvious. It's a feud, a conflict, or a contest. Sometimes you have both, or one or the other. But on this cycle, you can lose yourself in a mighty battle with an enemy who assumes mythological proportions. All of this is Neptune. It's not reality. You can also deal with reality-impaired former partners on this transit if there is a duel, and find yourself pulled into their world, which is not the real world at all. All of this ends next year. This week is part of the ending. Understanding how very far removed everything has gone from the real world is part of it, and you'll see this by Sunday. Sometimes people play this transit out, which also involves Saturn, by having two partners, professional, romantic, or platonic, and one partner is heavy and the other one is the big escape. Or you can go for a partner who is a mixture of both. Sometimes she or he gives you totally unavoidable, quite heavy reality, but at the same time, you go on a holiday from reality with them as well. You go through bubble world. Managing your 7th house cycle now is about understanding the scales. Libra rules the scales, which the 7th house in your horoscope is all about. And they were very carefully chosen by the Romans to represent fairness and justice, equilibrium and harmony. Before the scales of Libra arrived, there were two Scorpios. Strange but true. As is the way with astrology, the decision to have the scales as a constellation did in fact coincide with a fairer and more harmonious Rome. So right now, with your romantic, professional or platonic partner, the scales say it all. You have to balance one way or another before this cycle ends in order to leave everything in the best possible place, as from January 2025, karma comes into play. The node moves into this zone of your chart, and 2025 and 2026 are about sorting out what you owe or what you are owed with this man or woman who is such a long-running story in your life. Libra. Neptune is distorted vision. You now have it with your work, your housework, your unpaid work, being a carer or volunteer. You have it with academia, or anything that you would call your vocation. You've got your angles now, but you need other angles too. And Saturn is the angle that you can't avoid. For all that daily routine is all over the place, all the time, everywhere, with no boundaries, and perhaps people who don't understand where the line cannot be crossed, you are also dealing with quite heavy restrictions at the same time. You may be dealing with this by having a job, an unpaid job, or an academic career, which you acknowledge you cannot get out of, cannot get away from, and cannot get through. Yet, because you also need the escapism of a holiday from reality, you choose to have a second job, a second course, or a second unpaid role, which is a total alternative and nothing to do with reality at all. This is quite a common way of handling this cycle. In a way, it makes sense to do this, Libra. So you may be a carer for your husband, which is Saturn's walls and gates and barriers, but also have a completely escapist sideline as a painter or a sculptor, whether you're paid for it or not. There are many variations on the theme, but it's really showing up this week. This double transit of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces in your 6th house ends next year. It is replaced in January 2025 with the North Node in the 6th house, which gradually overtakes these other cycles. And that brings me to your health, which is the other side of this transit. The 6th house is about your physical and mental fitness to serve. It is your ability to offer up your duty, your chores, your regular tasks, and your commitment to other people as a reflection of how fit you are for purpose. You're not a machine, of course, and you have to attend to your body, mind, and spirit on this transit. But all the clues are always about how you really feel about the service and duty that you have to provide. If you have mixed feelings about it, which you are not expressing or allowing yourself to express, it may well be that you are dealing with a health issue right now, be it physical or mental, which you know very well gets in the way of you doing the job. And that job may be the housework, or it may be running a company. This transit has a funny way of showing up as the subconscious mind expressing itself through what happens to your general health. So if this is ringing any bells, now is the time for you to inquire. On what level is your subconscious actually running the show? Scorpio. This is a great week to privately set your own web agenda. This Pluto retrograde cycle with the internet, the media, publishing, education, also brings decisive, dramatic final chapters which accompany new beginnings in November. It's typical Pluto stuff. It may have been Facebook or ex-Twitter which got you last time. Sometimes the issue is fundamental communication, basics like speech or writing or your hearing or sight. Soon you will be in a great position to know yourself, set your terms, and create your digital world according to your own set of controls, never mind other people's. Talk about an end game, it's definitely coming. So that's Ceres in Capricorn too. Capricorn rules your 3rd house, also ruled by Gemini and Mercury. So let's talk about this. And let's talk about Biden and Clinton as good Scorpio role models, because of course, in their respective positions, they have also been battling with the internet and the media for a very long time. The long and winding road that you have had with communication, whether it's digital, behind a telephone or microphone, has been years in the making. And yet you sign off from this with a 2-step. The first signing off is November when Pluto goes, and the second sign off is early December when Ceres also goes. So for you, this is really about gathering your thoughts about the last few years and using this week to review what worked and what didn't work, what you should write off as ancient history, and what you can look forward to in November and December as a new way of feeling the reins in your hands. Control is really important to Scorpio people. You are ruled by Pluto, which is all about total control. You don't often get it, but you can certainly have some of it and a compromise and a trade-off. And it looks like there is a huge amount of deal-making ahead for you with the world of words, ideas, and images, which would be complete by December when Ceres is finally out of this zone of your chart. This trade-off or compromise will be stop-start. It will be preceded by a big bump or event or moment in November, which lets you know that everything just changed. But after that, you're on your way. Sagittarius. Pluto is now in your 3rd house, on and off, until November, when he is definitely on. He's back again in Aquarius. The 3rd house, ruled by Aquarius in your chart, rules your brothers and sisters. It also rules the written and spoken word and how you communicate in other ways, through symbols or images, for example. Finally, it rules short journeys, local or regional. Now, this on-off transit of Pluto in this zone, in your third house, is triggered this week. What is happening now is also about the beginning of 2025. In fact, it looks as though your choices about siblings, cousins, and even just the internet will change everything as you go out of 2024 and into next year. This is really a transit worth watching because something very new has been happening to you since 2023, and that is the realization that power has just walked in the room. Powerful people, powerful organizations, and a chance for you to become really empowered are now real. And yet nothing has happened because you have had Pluto going backwards and forwards in and out of this zone of your chart. What's happening at the moment is a kind of a step back, a chance to catch your breath maybe, and look at the emotions that have been stirred by this question about the World Wide Web, the media, or the basics of communication, but also your brother, sister, or cousin. What you can expect from November is the return of a situation that never really went away. At the moment, you are taking a bit of a break from it, but you also need to have that objectivity. You can stand back from it and step back without the feelings and really take stock of 23 and 24 to date and understand exactly what's been going on. Pluto transits can draw us into situations where obsession is the order of the day. And this may have happened to you, to your brother or sister or cousin. It may have surfaced in connection with a project, a plan, or a course which involved the internet. All of this Pluto obsession never really goes away from next year, but this week you can at least take stock and understand that it is not all of you. It may not even have to be part of you. It can be treated like a passing condition that you can choose what you're going to do about. Capricorn, this Pluto cycle in your finance and property zone goes backwards now, but resumes in time for Christmas. Try an alternative property strategy for 2025, even in your mind, that better suits who you actually are. This comes and goes as a cycle, so you have time to change your mind or modify your original thought. Pluto in Aquarius goes shortly, but it lurks back into your money zone in November. Ops and Psyche are in Aquarius too, also in your second house of finance, values, life budgets, houses, valuables, and apartments. This story in your second house starts in November, having been flickering on and off all year. Yet it will not be until the new moon in Aquarius in 2025 that you really feel this has kicked off. This is a second house story, so let's talk about that. If you have anything in Taurus in your birth chart, then this is a revolution, and the revolution is ongoing. Even if you don't, or you don't know, you still have a transformation ahead of you because that is what Pluto does. At the very beginning, it can be hard to see. There may be hints of this financially or with a house or apartment, with business, a charity or shares. There may be clues and signs of what might be, but it's also very new and it hasn't really started. That in some way you are being given grace, being given a chance to resume normal transmission a bit later, because what has been happening to you is so intense. It's not just been about the money, the house, or the apartment, or the rest of it. It's actually been about your values, your principles, what you will and will not sell out for, and who or what you consider to be priceless. All of this stuff about values is even more important if you do have Taurus factors in your birth chart, because it is upon your principles, your morals, and your ethics that your biggest financial and career decisions revolve, your biggest decisions about something like marriage, for example. However it finds you this week, and your personal chart will tell you the story, you can step back, remove the numbers and the price tags from the emotional side of things, and get ready for what will in fact transform your financial world as 2025 begins. Aquarius. Closure comes slowly with a long look back at religion, your rejection of religion, therapy, tarot, self-help, mediumship, the I Ching, hypnosis, and your inner world, which may be about self-help. A new order is coming in November. The world of God, perhaps, will bring empowering new beginnings now, or dramatic endings, which force you to find your inner power too. Do use this new Pluto retrograde period to find out who you truly are, as he goes back into Capricorn, and Ceres is already there. So this is backward traction with a religion, your rejection of a religion, or self-help. It's about the psyche, the psychology of you, your soul, or your spirit. This Capricorn sign in your chart rules your 12th house, and that is where Pluto and Ceres are currently stuck. So if it feels as if things are intense but not moving or going anywhere, that's absolutely right. They will begin to shift slowly but surely in November with the first bump or event, and then in December there will be a second one. This may involve your psychiatrist or psychologist or your psychic. It may involve your priest. On whatever level you've been dealing with this transit, which is intensely personal to you, it's being conducted by yourself. It's been a matter for you, maybe for your dreams or your sleep cycles or your meditation. At the moment, this week, you are able to take a long look back at what has actually been taking place, and it's nothing short of transformation, as this cycle began all the way back in 2008, and this is the last gasp. So you are entitled to have some kind of deeper perspective on it, and that's what you will be able to do. Even though the real world is carrying on outside you, the truth is that it's on the inside that the biggest transformation is happening, and it's on the inside that you will find your greatest power. The backwards and forwards nature of this transit suggests that some people may also be rescheduling with you who are important to the process. It's also quite true that what you thought might be in the bag isn't in the bag at all. But eventually, Aquarius, this 12th house transit in Capricorn, does draw to a close, and maybe spinning your wheels is part of it. You needed to go backwards and forwards with it in order to find out the truth for yourself. Aquarians have been through some extremely intense experiences since 2008, which have drawn the spiritual side of life much closer. And it's been your task to either reject it or take it fully on board. Where this leaves you now is where you'll be making a decision in November. Pisces, trawling your chart for something, anything to explain the intensity of self-help, God, religion, the tarot, mediumship, therapy, hypnosis, and the rest, we find Pluto in Aquarius. Well, you will get some relief from the intensity now, as Pluto quits Aquarius and goes back into Capricorn. At last, a break from the depth charge. Yet, Pisces, this does come back in late November with a deal that you make with yourself in December, and a new start in January and February 2025. The Aquarius weather with Pluto there from November and a ton of transits in Aquarius in December through February is about your soul, your spirit, or your psyche. So let's look at your 12th house, because your sun is actually there in your natal chart. You were born with the sun in Pisces in the 12th house, which is about introspection, soul searching, and solitude. There is always a part of the Pisces journey which involves a deeper questioning of all that is, the universe, if you like, and you can go at it from a scientific point of view, as Einstein did, who was also a Pisces, or you can go at it from a purely instinct-based faith. However it's been permeating for you, this is the beginning of something really extraordinary in your life, and 2023 and 2024 only hinted at it. In fact, in 2025, as early as January and February, you will realise that you're going to start as you mean to go on. It may have been an interest in, for example, the I Ching or the runes, which began a couple of years ago, has accelerated, and now has to be taken on board. You can't just leave it on the surface. For various reasons, Pisces, whatever it is that's been guiding you towards your very soul or spirit, you now have to make up your mind about how you're going to accommodate it in your life. This may be a full-blown commitment next year, or it may be a reappraisal of what you were considering before, maybe modifying it. However it's panning out for you, you need a confidant, and this cycle is about somebody that you can trust with your secrets. If you cannot spill everything to a diary or a journal or even an anonymous blog, you must at least share this interior part of your life with somebody who understands and who can keep the secret. So whether it's psychic or psychological, spiritual or religious, that person is around. And once you've taken a break from this intense process, as I've said, it will be November that shows you this is the way it's going to be, and January or February will make it part of your life. Thanks for listening, and remember that the Astrology Show is now on video on Substack. We'll catch up with you next week.